Hello, this is Griffin Epstein. I'm the regional reporter for the West Coast for CSBN, and it's a pleasure today to be joined by Nick Garcia, junior pitcher from Chapman University. Nick, thanks so much for joining us today. Now, Nick, currently a junior at Chapman in Southern California in Orange County. You've kind of become a star there of late. Just take us through kind of your baseball journey over the last couple years of starting as a freshman at Chapman, where you played third base more than you pitched, to now being one of the best Division III pitchers in the country.
It's been a crazy ride here at Chapman. I mean, coming in as a infielder and then going through the transition to becoming a pitcher, I mean, that was something I thought I could have done, and I was very self-confident in that I could do it. And the transition was not easy by any means, but it took a lot of work, a lot of guys behind me. I'm surrounded by a lot of really talented players here. I feel like we're one of the best universities in Division III and one of the best baseball programs in the country, where we produce guys who constantly are getting better and moving on to the next level. So being around that type of environment really helped with getting me to where I am and hopefully pushing me farther into the future into bigger places.
So your freshman year, you played about 50% of the time at third base. Then your sophomore year, suddenly you're the best pitcher on the staff. You started, you closed games, and became a Division III All-American, really helped lead Chapman, the Panthers, to a national title in Division III. That summer, you played in upstate New York with the Onondaga Flames. How important was that to your development? How did that impact you that summer, then going into the collegiate baseball season?
Oh, no, that was huge. I mean, that was the first time really getting my feet wet where I could get off the mound. And it was beginning to make that transition where I was still doing both, but I was becoming more self-aware that being on the mound and pitching was more in my future. And it definitely was becoming obvious that for my university, that was the biggest step to help us and help me. And it just worked, and it took a lot of people behind me to get me in a good spot to help us win that national championship last year.
Were there a specific coach, people that influenced you when you were in Syracuse playing with the Flames, that kind of helped you change your mechanics, pitching wise, going forward to really become an elite pitcher?
I wouldn't say it was more of just like the environment of the guys there was a very unique environment. We were very talented. We very much went out there with a purpose to get better that year. And I think that very much helped us. I mean, it was a great group of guys that we had some great bonds, and we really enjoyed getting out in the field and competing. I feel like that's one of the hardest parts when you're making a transfer in position, is maybe not mechanically, but it's more of getting out there and competing at a high level and doing it every day. And that's what we did. So I say that was very helpful for me.
You were in the Cape Cod last year. Really a rarity for Division III players. That is the highest level, no doubt, of summer baseball. What was that experience for you, being around, all the top scouts in baseball are there, so some of the most acclaimed top collegiate players in the country, players that are going to be drafted in the first couple rounds of Major League Baseball draft in the upcoming years?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a crazy experience. I mean, coming straight out of the World Series last year, just winning the national championship, then 3 days later, I was sitting in Cape Cod with some of the best players in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely was a whirlwind experience for me, just trying to get my feet under me, get my mind set, and it definitely took some time out there because you're thrown into stuff. And me, I mean, I was pitching for 8 months at that point, and now I'm pitching against the best hitters in the country. Collegiate hitters in the country. I mean, that's not a very easy task to fulfill, but I really went out there with the mindset to learn, and I learned a lot that summer, and I picked up on a lot of little things from the guys I faced and from the guys I was around, pitchers. I mean, they're the best in the country, and they're the guys that are going to be in the major leagues in a couple of years, and if I want to be there too, I got to pick up their stuff and keep learning. I mean, that whole environment was crazy with being around guys like that, but at the end of the day, it's just baseball. It's just a game. I'm just another one of those guys, and I mean, it's nothing special really. You just go out there and do your thing.
Kind of touched on earlier transformation, starting as at third base more than being a pitcher. When you picked up baseball when you're 5 years old, were you envisioning being a pitcher, third baseman? And kind of how has that transformation changed, through high school, being at Sarah in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then going in to college and summer collegiate baseball as well?
I mean, yeah, I think younger, I never really envisioned myself as a pitcher. But I've always been a competitor. So I think that's most what stood out. Maybe the fact that I wasn't very much always set on being a pitcher or hitter. I mean, growing up, everybody loves hitting a baseball and seeing it go over the fence. And, that's always a cool thing. Nobody really very often is like, oh, I'm going to throw the baseball. I mean, as hard as I
Mm-hmm.
can. But as the transformations come for me, I mean, being on the rubber is something very special to me. I mean, there's a feeling that I have out there on that mound that I never have had anywhere else in my life. Um, I feel as confident as anybody else out there. I feel like anybody that steps in the box isn't going to have a shot against me. So it's this unique feeling, and it's just to keep getting better and better, and hopefully that helps me out in the future.
It certainly seems that you have a kind of a certain mental attitude on the mound. How have you worked to develop your mental side of the game as a pitcher? Kind of become such the confident guy on the mound that you clearly are now.
I mean, I think that just gone along with just the guys I've been around have really developed that. I mean, being the younger brother by 4 years, 5 years, growing up, you always want to play with him. I mean, you're a lot matched physically, so you got to really be tough and want to compete. And then just being around college, I mean, high school, I went to a very, very talented high school, being around guys that are playing in professional baseball already that I went to high school with. I mean, you have to compete at a very high level every day to be good there and make it to the next level. And then coming to college, I was around a lot of guys my freshman year that I feel really saw that I had a chance to be a good baseball player here and affect us at a very high level. And I mean, my freshman year, I wasn't a huge impact player, but they set some stones down for me that I made some big steps mentally and pushed myself to be ready come my sophomore year to make a change here and really bring that national championship back.
Now, your junior season, obviously, it's been cut short due to coronavirus that has affected so much of the country, including sports. Season ended just a week ago, and the rest of your season canceled. How has that impacted the team? What has that experience been like over the last couple of weeks? And how has the team dealt with it as a group of guys?
I mean, obviously, this is something that nobody's ever been through, so it's hard to describe really any comparison. It was kind of just that first shock. I mean, nobody really knew what it meant. I mean, when they say your season's canceled, you kind of believe it. You kind of like, oh, like, this is all going to pass through in a couple of weeks. We'll be back out on the field. And then it starts to set in that it's not going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's a very uncontrollable situation. So it's hard to be mad at something. It's more of that you just take in everything that has happened over the past 2 years, 2.5 years for me, and really just embrace it. Enjoy my time with these guys for the last couple months here, and whatever the future holds for me. I mean, just enjoy the moments we've had this past month and a half of baseball this year. I mean, a lot of great things happened. The program's going in a great direction. And I feel like the goal was to impact a lot of guys, the young guys, and get them ready for next year. And we really impacted their lives and got them on a right track to come back. And like people did for me, to get me as good as I was my sophomore year, hopefully those guys took everything in that they could this year from us older guys, and they come back next year and get back to where they should be in the World Series.
Obviously, you have goals beyond Chapman. How just right now are you dealing with the time off to be able to stay sharp, get pitches in, keep your arm up to a high level?
Right now, it's more of, I mean, we don't know how long this is going to last, so I'm not too worried about staying in 100% peak performance. It's more of just trying to keep the body in good shape, keep everything loose and healthy, and mainly I'm just going to take these probably in the next couple weeks to mentally, stressful first month and a half of baseball, and then I get a little bit of a break now. So enjoy my time that I have off and reset, and when things are allowed to start up again, then I'm going to be ready. But I'm not going to try to overpound myself with stuff that I don't need to be doing during this off time, because there's nothing I can control, and I don't want to